I'm Luke Serveld. Welcome to another episode of Meet the Gaffer.
This is mostly going to be me talking over time-lapse footage from a corporate video that I worked on recently. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's start at the beginning. So here we are just setting up on a stage, and the stage is called 3210. The cool thing about this stage is they have the I-beam that runs the length of the stage, and on the I-beam you can set chain hoists. So they're manual chain hoists, and you can have as many as you want on a particular I-beam, but usually they're spread out. So here you can see the chains that are coming down from above, and so you put them where you need them for whatever you're rigging. Here you can see the grips are putting together a rectangle. It's going to be a box, a light box, with two Nanlux 1200Cs. They were just checking the positioning and also how high they could raise the box. And here they've put a full grid on it, and then they're going to pull up, after a break, they're going to pull up the Ultra Bounce sides. And so it's a 12 by 20 softbox, and then it's about 8 feet in depth. And so there, without a skirt, you can kind of see how that is filling out the floor. Now, the basic concept of this was that we were kind of following a video that had been done before, but of course we had a different location, so we had different ways that we had to work with our space. The space in the video prior had been a sort of open warehouse with interesting walls. We did not have interesting walls necessarily in this space, and we had that sort of small cove area with the white and green that we needed to cover up. So the idea was to hang solids, large 20 by 20 by 30 solids, as a 3-wall black limbo. And eventually they'll put solids or whatever else on the floor to make that all black as well. Here the grips are now building a grid that will go in front of the large light box. So that will hang the lights for the people that will stand in front of what the light box was going to light, and that the light box was going to light a car. Then at a certain point we decided, you know what, the right wall of the stage is actually more interesting than the solids hanging there. So we took those down and we started lighting up the back wall. And I started off lighting that with colored light, just so we could sort of see what we were looking at. I used a number of ProLight Orions. Then in the background, in front of the solids, straight back from the camera, we had a number of sky panels. So there were actually 8 sky panels in the end. That was a look that was used in the previous shoot in that large open warehouse. So we brought that same aesthetic here, and we just kind of lined those up to camera. On the first pre-light day, we just had maybe 1.5 days to pre-light, but mostly on the first pre-light day, we set the rigging and then kind of put lights on stands, and then eventually put those lights on the grid. So the grid in the foreground, we have 2 sort of far side keys. Those are 600Xs into large 150 centimeter light domes, and then we have a 650 as a straight back, and then there are 2 other backs with Kinos. Now, while the door to the stage is open, you can kind of see all those I-beams up above and the bags where the chain gets collected as you pull things up. It's a great system and allows you to move things up and down and forward and back, but not left and right. Now here, the car's been brought in, and around the car, on the ground, we put some Hyperion tubes and some Titan tubes to make that rectangle around the car. What we were setting up for were a number of different looks.
We've got a bunch of folks here that are being interviewed by someone who's sitting over there, and we've got 3 cameras following it. So fixed camera in the middle, getting the full wide shot, and then a slider over here, and a dolly on camera left. We have a 600C as a fill in a 5-foot octa, and then, well, we have a grid up here that we have a 600X. That is sort of a far side key for the two folks that were here. And then there is a 600D. We have another 600X up above, but everything got moved and it wasn't an easy fix to move it up above. So we brought it down, and it's a little more flatter on to our interviewer, but it's also acting as a backlight for our two folks here. Then in the background, we've got a bunch of panels. So there's 8 S60 sky panels out in the back, and those are just glowing a blue. And then we have some background lights. It's hard to see it because we're shooting on Venices and they see in the dark. So yeah, we had to fill in the back with curtains, and then we have a teaser in here, and we have a 12 by 20 box in the back that was lighting this car. And then we have some Hyperion tubes on the floor here with some Titans. So it's Hyperions and Titans ringing the car here. And then we've got a lot of, we have like 5 different Orion, ProLight Orions that are lighting the backdrop or background, and then also some top lights. There's a top light on the hood here, and then there's also another top light that's on product. So here now it's a little closer, and you can also see we put down floor tiles. There was, sort of large reflective tiles. We started out with a smaller 30 by 30 section, and then we grew that as we found out that, just positioning of the car, anyway. So things definitely changed. We were doing this, I wouldn't say completely from the hip, but we were definitely changing as we went. We didn't have boards. We didn't have a real scout. So a lot of this was done more on the fly than one would like. But by the third day, when the important principles showed up, we definitely had a game plan, we had a look, and things were rolling. On that first pre-light day, we also played a little bit. So you can see straight back, we've got kind of a glow. That was from an ellipsoidal that's behind the vehicle. And we were trying to, play some patterns, some color, some breakup. But in the end, we pulled most of that and just went with the lights in the back and the wall. There's one thing here, you can sort of see it for a minute. We wanted to have a reflective glint in the front of the vehicle. And to get that, one of the grips had the brilliant idea of putting a laser from the camera vantage point into that place in the front of the car, and that just bounced then off the reflective element in the front of the car to where we wanted the light that was going to glint into that that piece in the front of the car. So that was a smart way to find the location of the light, reflection of incidents. Anyway, we ended up going mostly with white light, except for the sky panels that were in shot in the back, but all the other lights were basically in white light territory. On this job, I was able to work with DP John Behrens again. We'd collaborated on some of the interviews for the Social Dilemma doc, so it's nice to continue that association. I was also able to bring on Alan Steinheimer with his 2-ton truck. So we had my 2-ton, his 2-ton. We used all the gear from both trucks. So that was interesting. We had 3 and 3, 3 electric, 3 grip, and made it all work. And now here we're wrapping everything up. Get rid of the car. We were able to leave the floor. That would be wrapped the next day. Got rid of the front section. And then there comes the light box. It all comes down so much more quickly,
But as it was, we had a very long 17-hour day to get out of there. And it was a lot of equipment. It was maybe 40 units altogether, and was all on controllable by blackout. And in the end, gave a good product to the client, and cleaned up the space and got out of there unscathed.
So that's what we got going. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time.
This is a larger job than I normally do. A couple takeaways. At this scale, I should definitely have a board op. It's a little stressful to be gaffing and also in charge of, when there's going to be a little cue change or, just you're setting things up. And you really should be talking to the DP rather than, micromanaging the board op aspect. Also, really important to have strong bests. And with Alan, that was awesome. A really solid best is a godsend.